Right here. All right. Schooling with Sheedy is officially in session. But before we begin, first and foremost, God is good all the time. And all the time, let the church say,
God is good.
God is good. Thank you. Hey, listen, this is our first ever episode of Schooling with Sheedy. And I brought along some great brothers with me for today. We have brother Michael Cunningham and brother, Santana Silas. I just want them to just introduce themselves, say who they are. You guys have interacted with us before, but we'll start with brother Santana Silas, who's the founder and CEO of Art of Space Graphics. Brother Santana, can you go talk to the people and school them on what you do?
All right. I am a graphic designer based out of Cincinnati, Ohio right now. Graduated from Central State University 2013. I'm actually the person who made the logo for Schooling with Sheedy, and who made the logo of the whole media. I made Uncle Mike's logo for his podcast too. So I mean, anybody who's looking for logos, any type of art, hit me up, because as you see, I serve everybody how they're supposed to be served. But yeah, I'm a graphic designer named Santana Silas. You'll see my ideas and how I think about certain things today. Also the little brother of the host, Sheedy. So yeah, let's get to it.
Excellent. Thank you, brother. And as he was alluding to, brother Michael Cunningham, who is the gracious host of, you gonna do the Vanna White for me? Let's talk about the podcast. So, Mike, you can go and introduce yourself for us, please.
All right, so this is your favorite family member, Uncle Mike. That is my stage name, as you would say. But I am Michael Cunningham. I graduated as well from Central State University, class of 2011. Currently, right now, I am in the technology field. I work at a nonprofit law firm here in Detroit, Michigan, where I do and handle the technology needs for the attorneys and clients and so on and so forth. I'm excited about today. My two brothers, Tana and Sheedy, they both know me. They both know I'm a little emotional. So hopefully that this conversation doesn't lead me to tears and lead me to really exposing that side. But if it does, I don't mind, because we have to talk about this topic.
Yeah, and if it gets there, it gets there. We're all here for the waterworks. Right. What was it? A pool of water, so to speak.
Right.
Right. But this is what Schooling with Sheedy is about, though, right, Mike? Antenna and others that are on right now. This is all about getting real life topics that really affect the Black community. Mm-hmm. And I'm so gracious that we were able to, as he's checking in right now, check in with our Captain P. Sharp, who's on right here, who gave me this platform to start with Let's Be Real. And then now we're moving on to, now this being its own thing with Schooling with Sheedy. But nonetheless, if we're schooling with Sheedy, we must know that school is officially in session.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. And you're dealing with Dr. Sheedy at this time. So we have a range of topics and a gamut of topics that we'll be discussing throughout the weeks. But today, it really, we were motivated to talk about this specific topic and a few others that deal with the Black community. And we're not going to go any further than what just happened yesterday. But let's first go back in time. On May 25th in 2020, George Floyd lost his life. And so first, my prayers and sentiments to his family. No matter what justice was done, there's no justice for a dead body. Mm-hmm. And so my prayers are still with that family, with everything that they've had to endure during this time. Of course, this trial happened a lot faster than normal trials, right? Normally there's at least a year or two, just because things are so fresh. But I'm really glad that we got to the verdict that we did for this man who was an officer of his name. I'm just calling him Derek for now. I really don't. But he was convicted on this charges. He was found guilty there on all of them. And before I go and discuss how I felt about the results, I was watching them as live as I could as possible. I do want to hear, I'll start with Brother Cunningham and then go to Brother Silas. Your thoughts about their trial altogether, and then how it made you feel. I think, Mike, you can kind of talk from a different perspective because you definitely have a son, right? And so how that affected you, and then we'll shoot over to 10 after that. So the floor is yours, brother.
Okay, so we're just talking about how the trial went first. We're not talking about the verdicts. As far as how the trial went, I couldn't watch it, to be honest. I could not sit there and watch really away. I mean, to be honest, I could not sit there and watch us try to defend how this was wrong. There was no need to defend how it was wrong because we saw as plain as day what happened. The video footage showed the officer knee on this man's neck. What more do we need to see? Why do we have to go to trial in order to prove that this officer intentionally killed this man? Or let's not even say intentionally, that the officer killed this man and that the officer had other options or other avenues that he could have used in order for this story to end differently. Unfortunately, fortunately, due to, the pandemic, I say, people, I believe that, of course, this has been happening. There are 1,000 George Floyds. There are a number of situations to where we could have received justice or received, I don't even want to call it justice because it should just be fair treatment. But there have been a number of cases where we could have won those kinds of instances. But, we caught it during the pandemic and during the time of shutdown, where it really felt like that during that time or during this past year, we were really able to focus on that. So many times our Black people have been undermined, or they have been minimized to not being, a person. I mean, so forth as a 3/4 compromise, I think is what it's called, where, we're not even considered a person. So the trial went, how it should have. And I was really happy that we got the verdict that we got, and then we'll talk about the verdict, I'm assuming, later on. But you can go ahead, Tanner.
All right, not to get too far ahead of the topic. So if we just talking about the trial, I agree with you. The trial, I do think that the trial happened so fast because for the first time, I wouldn't say for the first time, but for the first time, we've really been on the police's for lack of better terms, we've been on their necks. Right. So we've been on there. That's why the trial happened so fast. Because if it wasn't for us taking to Twitter and taking to the streets and taking to all of our social media platforms to discuss the injustice of what happened, then I don't think the trial would have happened as fast as it happened. And then, like you were saying, this happening when everybody was locked up in the house, and we had no choice but to focus on the things that we really should have been focusing on. Yeah, it put pressure on the judicial system. I think this is one that they couldn't let this one get past. They couldn't. It was no way they could have let this one get past. We had video evidence, and like I said, everybody, as far as the people who viewed the video, were on the same page. If you weren't on that page, it says a lot about who you are as a person and your beliefs as a person, because it's pretty cut and dry. The trial really could have been an open and shut case, if you ask me. But I think that it's showing that when we do pay attention to things, and when we take to the streets, and when we actually use our minds and use our bodies and all get together at the same time, we can actually make things happen. But I really think this was one that they couldn't let this one go by. Like, the whole nation would have collapsed if they would have let this one go by.
Yeah, and I agree. In regards to him, I'm almost thoroughly convinced that I actually don't even want to call him by his name. George Floyd's killer. That's what I'm going to because watching that trial and hearing things from the trial, so I didn't catch every single moment, but there are a few things that I definitely caught on that were stuck to my heart and are going to stick to my soul. One of those was hearing from the students and the kids that were around, right? They're traumatized for life for seeing this. And if you don't think that trauma exists within a child, right? Or if you think like, hey, that they're too young, they'll never worry about that. Let me give you a quick story. My son, Aiden, had to get tested for COVID. He had tested for COVID, and the Q-tip kind of went up his nose a little bit more than it should have because he was doing all this messing around, right? It went up to his nose and he started bleeding, right? And when I talk about trauma, he now doesn't want to go to the doctor because he thinks he's going to get tested for COVID, right? So trauma does, and I'm clearly going to get them out of that because I need all Black men to be the doctors, but it sucks when you're at trauma at such a young age. That was one thing that really stood out to me. Another one that stood out, cut, clear, dry, I think because of the science in me, was when they brought the guy, I think it was either day 1 or day 2, who was the expert who admitted that he was on his neck for, was out of air, I think after or close to like 2.5 minutes or something like that. Like something like close to the amount of time that he had. To the point where like, how can you deny science at that point, right? And to y'all's point, like this trial should be open and closed, and it should have been. And I think they did the best that they could during that time. Speaking of that, I don't want to get more into the trial, let's get more into the verdict. The verdict came down. And I think that was a time when I felt like the world just kind of paused itself. And whatever news channel you were on, you got to that news channel. If you were on driving, Twitter, whatever, you got on there and you had to see, no matter how long it took you to see that verdict and to hear that judge read that verdict from those jurors. Everything was guilty. Every part. And I don't think there was any wiggle room for this. Like a non. Go ahead, Tanner. Okay.
This shows the feeling that we all had when they said that a verdict, that they came to a verdict, but they didn't announce the verdict as soon as they said they came to it. They just said that they came to a verdict. The feeling that you can see on all of the social media platforms, like it shows how bad our judicial system is right now. The fact that we have video evidence of what happened. The fact that the chief of police spoke against what happened. The fact that other policemen spoke against what happened. We should be like, once they say it's a verdict, we should already know what the verdict is. But the fact that when they said it was a verdict, we still had that PTSD of all the other times that the judicial system has failed us, that we didn't know what the verdict would have been. Like that shows how bad our judicial system is right now. Because that's I really didn't know what was going to happen. I knew what it should have been, but I really didn't know what was going to happen.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. I think that's the scary part. So we were working. So I work with, again, I work with lawyers. And I work with lawyers, and we have a diversity and inclusion committee, and we talk about these different things, and we have discussions about Black Lives Matter and how it relates to just us as an organization, and how it relates to the people that work for where I work at. And we were all, as I was talking to people, helping them with their technology, you could hear, like, when I would help someone, there would be in the background their phone is playing the trial, or they say that the verdict is coming out between 4:50 and 5 o'clock, and you hear everybody waiting for it, and while when they read the verdict, my piece was just how you said, Tanner, like if they don't say that this man is guilty, to be all honest, they go F some stuff up. And I feel like that I'm one of those as peaceful as they come. But if they would have did it, let me tell you, I wouldn't have been out there effing nothing up. But if they would have been out there, I would have said kudos to you. Because in my mind, you are not going to continue to ignore us and erase us. But when you all need us for entertainment purposes, when you all need us for cultural trends, when you all need us for anything that you need a little flavor to, or anything that you need a little bit of more excitement to, we are the ones who you run to, and we are the ones who you want to have on your panels. But literally, we are literally fighting for our lives. every single day. And so while I found myself, I was ready to celebrate, but to be honest, it messed me up the entire day. And it messed me up until this morning as well, because I really couldn't celebrate because my mindset turned to, why is this happening to us? Why do we have to justify our blackness? Why do we have to justify being alive? Why do we have to justify that being killed? A black man has to lose his life. A black man's life has to be sacrificed for you to say this police officer didn't do his job. And all police officers are not bad. Let's say that. All white people are not bad. Let's say that. But when it's done, we need to correct it. Accountability.
Yeah. I was just waiting for you to go on your tirade, Mike.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm gonna let Tana. I think you wanted to speak.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I mute everybody if you're not talking, just for background noise. But Tana, go ahead.
One thing to add on with what Mike was saying, I was happy about the verdict, but I really couldn't celebrate because it's like, all right, think about being in a basketball game and you down 100 points to 0 and you make that first shot. You're not gonna celebrate off of that first shot. You still got so much longer to go until you could really catch up to where it is that you need to be. Okay, we got one. Thank God we got one. Prayers for his family. But what about all the other ones that we didn't get? And I just feel like because we got this one, you better believe that this next one, I don't think we're gonna get it. I don't think we're gonna get it. I don't have to trust in our judicial system that we got such a big case like this case. I don't think we're gonna get the next one. And that's what I'm preparing myself for. So I'm celebrating. I'm happy for this case, but it's just this one case doesn't gain my trust again into the judicial system.
Yeah, and to kind of walk with, I don't like to use piggybacking all the time, but to like walk with the statements that you guys are saying, it was absolutely disgusting that even with all the information that was presented, that we still were like, okay, what are they going to say not guilty on? Right? Like, how can so much evidence be presented to people, to our system, and for us to still be on pins and needles, like we all agree, like, okay, like somewhere they're going to say not guilty. And I was literally waiting for them to y'all's point. Okay, maybe not on the second degree, maybe on the third degree, they're going to say not guilty. But to hear them say guilty all the way through, thank God they did, right? I believe that this trial, to answer your point, you're saying like you're not sure with the next one. I think this might be the one that we needed to change. And I hope it is a change agent for other trials moving forward. I hope that when a Black person is, killed or something like that, we refer back to this trial in particular, right? And all the information that was presented. And unfortunately, look at what we had to do. We had to present so much information, it had to be overwhelming. When others, and others, right, don't have to present as much and get the pass. And let's just be real, like it's because of the color of our skin. This is why we have School for Sheedy. This is why I do Let's Be Real, because we need to be real. Everyone is not fighting the same injustice that we're fighting and hasn't been doing it for centuries. Okay. And I'm a little bit off my topics. And so I got you, Mike. And I don't want to go too far into that. But the fact that we had to do all of this and to present this, and this is, again, us like, we're not really celebratory because there was something else that happened the same day, or these things happen so often that it just becomes part of life. And I'm gonna kick it over to you in a moment, Uncle Mike, but I do want to say this. This happens so much that I've also talked to my students. I teach at a high school. And to hear so many of my students not truly care because it happens so often. Y'all have to understand, not you guys, but people that are listening, y'all have to understand that somewhere along the line, we have to break the mold. This can't be the culture as we know. We can't be the piñatas that the police beat on. That can't be it and get away with it as if it's okay. That cannot be it. And of course, we'll discuss this a little bit further. I'll kick it over to Mike before we talk about our next topic. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, now I'm gonna keep it really brief because I know we have to move on. And I'm on the fence in between both of you all statements because Tana, I agree with what you said and that we got this one off, and it is so crazy to even say that we got this one off, but Breonna Taylor, it didn't happen, and we had the facts there. We even have for Breonna Taylor, we even had the police officers on camera saying we went into the wrong house. If that's not proof, like what more do you need? You went in the wrong house and you shot this woman in her house, laying down while she sleep. What more proof do you need? So, I mean, we can be hopeful. You know, we can all get on our Twister and fake Evans and be hopeful. Yes, I am hopeful for today, but we dealing with facts, and facts and reality has shown us that justice and the legal system is not on our side, and it's not on our side not due to anything that we can't prevent. I can't help that I'm black. My mama and my daddy are black, and their parents were black, and I can't go as far as that because I don't know too much of our lineage because we were stole. But that's a whole another story. So I can't go that far back. But that's what we have. That's what we have.
Yeah. Tanya, you have anything else before we move on to our next topic? Are you good? Okay, you good. All right. So for this topic, I'm definitely gonna give this a A. I'm drawing grade on all our topics because, of course, we're in school now. So I'm gonna get that an A right there. All right. We're gonna move on as well. We talked about the injustices that are happening and how our blacks are being killed on the same exact day. So for those of you that are not knowing of what's going on, this is why schooling for Sheedy exists, right? There was a teenager that was gunned down in Southeast Columbus, Ohio. Yes, I am from Ohio. My brothers, we all went to school in Ohio. So yes, we are still connected with Ohio. Her name is Ma'Khia Bryant. I might be saying that wrong, but trust me, you can Google this and find out all the information you need. I'll give you all a synopsis of what happened. And then I just want to hear you guys' thoughts about what actually transpired. I don't want to show the video because there is video footage from the body cam. And that's not on me or LBR to give you that. You can go and look that up on your own. All right. But from this body cam, what you see is a young lady. I don't know how young she may be. Right. But this young lady is after he gets his pistol. Right. Yes, they don't. After he gets his pistol, there you see a young lady with a knife. All right. This young lady with a knife was very close to another young lady as if about to engage with a knife with her. This officer gunned her down 4 shots that left her dead on the scene. Now, of course, there are different reservations of how people feel about it all. I do want to get everyone's take. If you had a chance to see the video and watch it, and you guys' take about how do you feel? Did he do what was right? Or how do you feel that you would maybe handle that situation? Instead of going with Mike first, I'll start with Tana, and then I'll go to Mike after that. So Tana, how do you feel about the Ma'Khia Bryant situation? Your thoughts?
All right, let's take it from the top. So Ma'Khia Bryant was 15 years old. All right. I guess some people showed up to her house to jump her, right, or something like that. And she called the police. When she called the police and the police showed up, she came outside, and she came outside with a knife. Mind you, she's 15 years old. The same way that we take in mental illness or the same way that we take in mental capacity and things like that when we're dealing with people who shoot up churches, let's give this person the same leeway. All right, she's 15 years old. All right, so she comes outside to defend herself with a knife. The cop got out of the car. And from what I'm hearing, he said, hey, a couple times, and he said, stop a couple times, and he drew his weapon. Now, the 15-year-old, she ran up to another lady that was dressed in pink, and she made the move like she was about to stab the young lady. The cop shot her 4 times, yes, and the video shows her slumped up against the car and pretty much losing her life. Now, as a cop, I know I've never been a cop. I've seen plenty of cops, and I know that they have a belt with different assortments of weapons or different assortments of things to use in certain situations. Now, I know they have mace, I know they have a flashlight, I know they have a baton, they have a gun, and they have a taser. Mind you, this is an altercation between a 15-year-old and some other teenagers. I don't think that a gun would have been the first tool I would have used in an altercation full of teenagers as a cop. But okay, let's say you do pull your gun out because you did say hey and you tried to stop the situation. Nobody was listening to you. As a cop, you go through an entire police academy. You go through an entire training to teach you how to use everything that's on your belt. I'm sure that they don't teach you to shoot to kill unless someone is threatening your life. That's the one thing that cops usually use when they shoot and they kill somebody is I felt threatened. I felt scared. Okay, in this instance, no one was threatening this cop. No one was even paying attention to him, as you can see, because he kept saying, hey, nobody was listening to him. So there's no reason for you to use this type of force because you're not the one that's being threatened. Now, I've seen on social media, a lot of people are saying that he was right for what he did because if he didn't shoot her, then she would have stabbed the other young lady and the other young lady would have lost her life. Now, I can't tell the future, but I do know that a bullet fired by a gun and a knife swung by a 15-year-old probably is not going to have the same type of repercussions. So yeah, even the young lady could have been stabbed, and there is a chance that she could have died from being stabbed, but it's a lower chance than being shot 4 times and being killed. Now, what I'm saying is the cop should have, if he had to use his gun. Now I know they have to. It's split seconds that they have to use to on how to de-escalate this situation. If you have to use your gun, why not shoot her in the leg? Why not shoot her in the butt? You was behind her when you pulled the gun. You could have shot her in the butt. You could have shot her in the leg. Anything like that. You don't shoot to kill. You shoot to subdue. You shoot so that you can de-escalate the situation. Now, yes, she had a knife in her hand. Cool, but you are a trained cop. You're trained to have this gun. You're not just a gun-toting individual on the street. So you should be able, and plus you were really close to her, so you should be able to shoot her to subdue her and to not kill her. Now, I don't think that him killing her was what should have happened. I honestly don't think that using a gun is what he should have did. But like I said, you have split seconds to determine what you want to do. Now, if he would have used a taser, I'm not sure how fast the taser would have subdued her because of her adrenaline and how close she was to stabbing the lady or whatever. But I just don't think that shooting her 4 times was I don't think that should have been the first decision of that cop. He didn't act right in that instance. I don't think he acted right in that instance at all. But you can go ahead, Mike. Let me see what you think about it.
Okay, so same here. I didn't necessarily get all of the details either. Tiny, you kind of filled me in a lot more than what I was filled in on. I did see the video, but it was I'm over 30. Eyesight is a little bad. So, I really couldn't really tell what was happening. I did see the officer shoot the girl. I did see her fall in the car, but I couldn't tell who was who in it. And I remember seeing the girl with the pink velour outfit on. That's what it looked like. But it looked like with the pink outfit on. And then I saw, the girl hit the car. And what I will say is that I've learned I can't be so quick to jump on the bandwagon and say that this guy that this white officer shot this black girl because she was black. While looking at the video, I did see where he did hesitate a little bit. And I'm with you. Why not shoot her in the leg? Why not shoot her in the hand? Why not shoot her somewhere to where you just could minimize the situation and then assess it after that? I don't know what could have been done. To be honest, I cannot say looking at that would be an instance to where I would say that it looked like that this girl's life didn't matter. I would say it turned out to be unfortunate. And it turned out to be maybe a not so equipped police officer. And I'm not giving him a pass, so I don't want that to be what it sounds like. I'm not giving him a pass for him killing the this young lady. But what I'm saying is that it doesn't look like that it was like a hate crime just by looking at it. Not saying that he shouldn't be held accountable, because if I go out and kill somebody, or if I go out and someone's attacked me, and I just so happen, or I'm trying to de-escalate the situation, and something happens to where I end up killing somebody because I'm trying to. Well, I'm not the police, but and you know what I'm saying. And I'm trying to de-escalate the situation. If I kill somebody, that is what it is. I killed that person, and I don't want to be so quick to jump on that this is the same as a Breonna Taylor, or that this is the same as a George Floyd. But what I'm saying is that accountability needs to happen for sure. And it is unfortunate that it what it looks like is that this keeps happening to us. Well, not what it looks like. What it is that this keeps happening to us. But I don't think that this situation was as a result of what we've been seeing, in my opinion. Hopefully they don't line me up in the comments. I'm getting a couple of agrees, but hopefully they'll line me up in the comments, because I've been watching social media all day. And I mean, people talking about defriending people and all that. And first of all, the people who be talking really, that's another story. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I almost had to mute you on my first episode. I can't get fired on my first day, Mike. I can't get fired.
Go ahead.
So I'll give my thoughts about it, and then we'll move on into our next topic. Thank both of you for sharing. First of all, my own phone, I don't even know who be calling me, right? And so we didn't watch enough Law and Order and all that other stuff about it. And so we know SVU. We listen, we watch Netflix, Hulu, all that, right? Now, what I will say is this. From that video, I don't know who was 15. Okay? And in a moment's notice, that cop, we all know that the cop didn't actually get the call. The call came from the dispatcher who got the 911 call, right? So, yeah, thank you, Shark. I'm over here trying to do the comments in this. All right. So, to me, the moment that he decided to your point, Tana, use his pistol instead of another weapon, that is where I believe a lot of people start getting more upset about it. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Was he right in gunning her down 4 times? No, we all think no. But we also don't know exactly what that young lady was going to do with that knife with the other one. When in that, what she had on that FUBU velour jumpsuit, right? And so we don't know exactly what she was going to do. I mean, she really had her Mike Myers ready to go. She was upset, you can tell. But there was also a man that like kicked the other girl as well. So let's actually, since we want to rewind, let's rewind. If this is a teenager, where are your parents? And we need to stop being in a society where we think that just because my child is 12 or 13, that they are grown and they can be at home by themselves. I hope to God that somebody, that she called a family member first before calling the police, and that a family member was there on the scene to make sure that that doesn't get that way. Another part that I'll bring to light, okay, and I'll be honest, with everything that's been going on, do not give the police any more firewood for the fire. What I mean by that is, don't come outside with that knife. And don't get me wrong, I know within that time frame, I've had a gun held to me, I've had knives to me. So I understand, like in that moment, you're not clearly thinking, but neither is that officer. The officer is not going to know exactly who is the person that's actually in need and who needs to be protected. So if he doesn't gun her down 4 times, which again, I'm not saying that he was right or wrong. If he doesn't gun her down 4 times, he's already in a lose-lose situation. Because if that family's not attacking him, then the other family in that FUBU pink velour, they're going to attack him. Because how could you sit here and watch my daughter, my niece, whoever she is, however she's related, get stabbed while you were on the scene. So the moment he decided to use that gun, he was already in a lose-lose. Now, there's been all these things about police, defunding police and all the other things, training, that I get it. But a lot of us have never experienced a moment where you're literally gunning for your life, so to speak. And so I'm remorseful for him. He's going to have to go through some stuff and be held accountable for it, for what he's done. He's definitely gunned down someone, and I don't think it was appropriate to do. But again, if he doesn't gun her down, he's going to watch her knife someone else down. So again, he was at a lose-lose situation. You're right, Tanny. He did say, hey, a couple of times. No one was listening. But again, I'm going back to, again, Black people, stop leaving your kids at home and thinking that they grown. And legitimately, we ain't even in that same era that we used to be. It ain't that we all gonna meet up and fight underneath the street light or at the little green top with electricity, right? We're not in that age no more. We're in an age where people have weapons, right? No matter if they're guns, registered or non-registered, or knives that look like Crocodile Dundee. It doesn't matter. He drew a weapon because he saw a weapon. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I know there's plenty to discuss more and further about that for Ms. Bryant. Right now, I'm really at a standstill about how that even transpired. So at this point, I'm going to give her a B- right now, just until I get some more about it all, because this is still really fresh incident. Next topic, and I know we're getting great on time. I'm not worried about time. I want to talk about social injustice. And I think this is a great segue because, and even earlier, segue could have happened as well. But there's this divide that's happened. And Mike, I'll start with you and then go to Tana. There's this divide that's happened with Asian lives matter and Black lives matter. And there was a big fuss once that man, and I don't know his name, I don't want to know his name, went to different salons and killed people of Asian descent. That's called a hate crime. What's happened and why we again, no life is worth killing another. But the reason why Black Lives Matter is here and is here to stay is because, to the point that we've already made earlier, we're the ones getting gunned down by people that are supposed to protect and serve us. We're the ones without weapons that are getting killed, that are getting knees to our necks. We are the ones that are looked at differently when we come into stores. That is us. So we have to protect ourselves. And there's nothing against Asian lives or Hawaiian lives or Japanese lives. It doesn't matter what life is. You have to understand that in this United States of America, Black people are at the bottom of the totem pole. We are nothing more than crabs in a barrel to them. And they continue to shoot and kill us based upon many different things. So my take now is, again, starting with Mike and then going to Tana, what is your take on this social injustice that's happening in America as opposed to talking about Black Lives Matter versus more like the Asian Lives Matter?
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep it. I'm going to try to keep it in alignment with what we're talking about. The first thing is, I remember there was this whole situation where the singer Kiki Wyatt, where she got on and she went on a rant and she said, Black people are not the only ones who are being discriminated against. And they lit her up about it because she is a biracial person. And her stance was, I get it from Black and white because, I'm not Black enough or I'm not white enough or you're too Black for the white folks and you're too white for the Black folks, so on and so forth. And so she got lit up about that whole topic. And as it relates to Black Lives Matter, and as far as any other, I'm not even going to say just for the Asians is just what happened most recently. But the truth of the matter is other ethnicities, other ethnicities have for sure been discriminated against. We cannot discredit that. You have the Holocaust and Hitler, and you have the Jews and the Gentiles, if you want to get biblical. You have Asians, or you have there's a number of other instances where other people have been discriminated against. due to, again, like I said, things that they cannot control themselves. But as it relates to Black Lives Matter and the divide is what we have is that while other ethnicities have been discriminated against, Black Lives Matter, Black lives or African American lives are, thank you, my sister said, but not at the extent of Black people. That is my point. Black people have just been the worst. We have gotten it the worst. We have been killed the worst. We have been incarcerated the worst. We have been targeted the worst of everyone. So when it comes time to say that, well, other lives matter too. Yes, they do. But let's have that same sentiment for my life, and let's have that same sentiment for my son's life, or for our African American women lives, because it happens to women too. It just doesn't happen as often or as frequently as women, but it happened to our women too. It's just that the Black men are just considered more of a threat as always. So if we even want to go there, thank you. If we even want to go to that point, let's just turn it again into the racial divide. I'm driving in my car today and I'm listening to a radio ad, and this is about marijuana. And for all of our marijuana people who celebrated 420, and if you don't or if you do, power to you. But what happens is, so now here in Michigan, marijuana has became legal, but they've only became legal in the urban communities. And now that they've became legal in the urban communities, if you drive while you're high, so it's no longer now driving while you're under the influence of alcohol. So now if you drive while you're high, you have the opportunity or the chances of being ticketed, doing jail time, having these things on your record. But this is supposed to be a legal substance. So now you plant this in our communities, and we're going to partake. You just know that we're going to partake.
It's like crack in the 80s.
I was going to say it's the same thing they did with crack. Stab my head, boy. It's the same thing that they did with crack. You put this in our communities, and then you criminalize it. I was watching something, and they say, well, all of a sudden, cocaine, heroin is an addiction, and that's a problem. But crack cocaine, you're a crackhead, and it's a crime, and you go to jail for it. All of these things, the social injustice and the social divide that we have, again, we always say, we've come so far, but they constantly do things to keep us back down, and down. And that's where the divide comes from. So yes, unfortunately, our Asian brothers and sisters who had that incident, we feel for you, and we are on your side too, because we know what that feels like. But our fight is way greater and way bigger. Not to minimize yours, but ours is just way bigger. I know I could talk. I'm sorry.
Oh, you can talk. Yes, you can. It's all right, brother. It's all right. Hopefully you left enough air for Brother Tan to go ahead after
that. All right. So here's my take, and I'm gonna stick with the whole Asian Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter. Black people, African Americans, we are the most accepting culture in the United States, probably in the world. When a white person can dance, they're invited to the barbecue. Native American person has nice braids or has the newest J's on, or they in the gang. They gang. When an Asian person has gold teeth or can rap a little bit, oh yeah, that's my Asian brother. That's my Asian nigga. You feel me? But when it comes to us being integrated in everybody else's culture, it's hurry up and buy. It's got a hoodie on in the hood. It's, oh, you don't belong in my neighborhood. So it's different. This is why we are the way we are. Like, this is why we made Black Lives Matter. When things happen to our Black community and we hit the streets, yeah, there's a couple white people in the protests. Yeah, there may be Asians and a couple Native Americans in our protests. Those protests are probably 85 to 90% Black people hitting the streets for what's going on with us. Now, when something happens to the Asians and it becomes Asian Lives Matter, now it's okay. Well, how come the black people aren't hitting the streets for the Asians? Well, how come the Asians wasn't hitting the streets for black people? Now we don't want to make this. We don't want to make this a competition because this competition doesn't have a winner. But we just want. It's all about equality. We just want it to be equal. Now this happened to the Asians, and going off of what Mike was saying, I watched this documentary that Will Smith did on Netflix, and a part of the documentary there was an assassination of the Asian community in the United States, and it was a really horrible assassination by what type of people to Asian people. So they have been through some things in the United States, but you can't put everything on the backs of black people because we're the strongest. We know we're the strongest culture. We know we're the strongest. We know you want to be like us, but you can't put everything on us, our problems to deal with, just like Asians have theirs to deal with. Everybody has their problems that they need to deal with, but we can't save everybody. We can't save ourselves. So how can we save another race? We still have so much to deal with our race. Now, when we say Black Lives Matter, white people say all lives matter. Asian people come out and say Asian lives matter. White people say, yeah, black people need to treat Asian people better. Like, when do you take accountability that in all of the movements, in all of the Lives Matter movements, it's again pretty much one culture of who we supposed to matter to. Like, it's not, okay, Black Lives Matter to Mexican people. It's not Black Lives Matter to Native American. Black Lives Matter to Asian people. It's Black Lives Matter to the people that people, because I have white friends and we're not ignorant. We're not going to say 100% of white people are bad. We know that there's good white people. There's bad black people. But we're just saying what we can see in our eyes and what's presented to us. Yes, Black Lives Matter, Asian Lives Matter, Native American Lives Matter. But we all need to deal with our own problems. Yes, we can lend a helping hand to those other movements, but don't expect us to lead the movement because we have things that we need to handle too. Everybody's going through their own struggle. So you can't put everything on the back of black people just because the nation was built on the back of a black person.
Well said from both of you. Love the details and the complete sentences that were there, right? I'm going to give this paper an A- for this one as we are building up the report card here. And so I'll say with this, it's unfortunate that we are the ones that people come to when things are going wrong, right? Not really when things are going right. Right? There's not that praise, so to speak, for African Americans when things are going right. In this past year and a half during this pandemic, it's been literally all eyes on the African American community with the killings, with the deaths, with everything that's been going on. Again, back to Breonna Taylor and others that have just been slain for the wrong reasons. And so, to me, I love both of you guys' points just in regards to it all. We're not saying that we don't stand with Asian people or any other people. We're just saying we have enough on our plate that we ain't even going back for seconds right now. Because I still got these greens, beans, potatoes that need to get ate, right? Before I can think about going to another plate and helping out. And so, like, I just want everyone to understand that. And and to everyone's point, there are good people and bad people, no matter the color of your skin, no matter what job you even do, right? And I know earlier we talked about there's not all cops are bad, and not all cops are good, right? We clearly see this. What happens now is we're in a society that is very much technologically savvy, that they're capturing things that have been going on for decades. Let's just call it what it is. It's just now coming to light and surfacing for you all to see it now, right? That's what it is. So we're not, and to the part that I talked about earlier about my kids, my students in high school, they're so used to this, it's like it's ignorant to them. And that's a shame. So it's on us to really like kind of rebuild our own culture, so to speak, to make sure that these things are not things that our daughters and sons, our nieces, our nephews, our little cousins have to go through and transpire for. We are not done with having to lead this charge, gentlemen. Even though we're in our 30s, we can still be prevalent to everything that's going on. They say the people that lead the charge are really the high schoolers, and I actually do believe that. Everything that really transpires is really led by high school students and their mindset, and then moving forward from there. Before, thank you so much. I did have another topic to discuss with racism, but just because of time, we'll just table that one because I think we've discussed racism in many different forms during our time here today. Before we close out of class, because class is not dismissed yet until the teacher rings the bell and dismisses you. Brother Tanner, I know you're the CEO and founder of Artist Based Graphics. Can you let people know what platforms to reach you on if they want any graphic work or just want to talk to you about your responses? How can people reach you?
Okay, if you want to reach me on Instagram for graphics work, it is Art of Space GFX, ARTOFSPACE GFX. That's where you can reach me for art. Now, if you're just reaching me just to talk to me, man, behind the business, or just talk to me about whatever you need to talk to me about, is Santana RXCKS. Santana RXCKS. And it's the same on Twitter. It's the same on all of my social media handles are the same thing. So if you want to talk to me, I welcome all conversation. I'm not the type of person that I only believe in what I say and what I say is all the way right. I am a person that can have good conversation with people, and I'm not a person that if I have my mind on one thing that my mind can't be changed. So come holla at me. But if you're looking for some art, Art of Space GFX, my email is artofspacegfx@gmail.com. As you can see, I do great work. You can check my work out, and Let's Be Real Media, Schooling with Sheedy, all of that. I do the work for all of them. So if you fill in their logos, I'm the one who did it. So come holla at me, man.
Thank you, Brother Tanner. And to our host, Brother Mike, Uncle Mike, as he goes by on Let's Talk About It. How can we find you as you're about to do your Vanna White presentation?
There we go. You guys can hear me now. All right. So, yes, I am your favorite family member, Uncle Mike. So, yes, I have a podcast as well, and it's called Let's Talk About It. And we talk about everything as it relates to religion, relationships, childhood trauma, adult trauma. My latest episode was about, reading books. And you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. If you just put in the hashtag, hashtag, I was about to say pound, sound like I'm, a little older, but hashtag.
It's all right.
Yeah, exactly. Hashtag LTAIPOD. If you search that, you can find me. My personal information is like Uncle Mike 63 or Michael Motivation Cunningham. But if you search this hashtag, you'll be able to find me. And I do want to give a shout out to Tana because Tana did my logo as well. And it has been rocking with me, 3 years strong now at this point. And he does great work. And he's a real professional businessman. So appreciate it.
Got you. And for everyone that's listening, please make sure you catch all of our podcasts. We have Let's Be Real. We're the Def Jam umbrella, so to speak. Underneath there, Let's Be Real Sports, LBR Sports. We have IDK Sports, which is run by our brother Marcus Savage. And we have Tighten Up Podcast, which is all about the Titans, of course, with brother and Captain Paris Sharkey. But before we close with class, just to make sure you guys know, the more you listen, the more you know. The more you know, the more you grow. It's your boy Sheedy. Class is dismissed. Have a good one.